I am looking at ending a 30-year friendship.
Whoa, what happened?
Well, it's a little bit of a long story. Do you want me to get into it, or
give me the highlights?
Well, the highlights is I have a friend who we met in kindergarten. We've been good friends for 30 years. It's, with any relationship, it's had its ebbs and flows, ups and downs.
Sure.
But lately, I've been feeling like I'm in a toxic relationship. She has been trapped in a cycle of toxic relationships with men since high school. And I've been her go-to person to save her, to help her, to support her. And I've been happy to do that. She's one of my ride or dies. But this last time she got out of a toxic relationship and then went right back in, it kind of opened my eyes to some things that maybe she's the toxic one and maybe I'm in a toxic relationship.
Heyo.
Yeah. So I'm looking at kind of pulling away and shutting this friendship down, and there's a lot of grief associated with that.
Sure.
So that's what I'm struggling with.
Does it have to be an event? And here's what I mean. Like, we don't have a good system. They just don't exist. Maybe they do in other cultures. I don't know of any. There's ways to end romantic relationships, and there's ways to end business relationships. There's just not a good way to end a grown-up adult friendship.
Right.
Like, there's not like I'm breaking up with you like over coffee. It just doesn't work like that.
Right.
But so I'm asking you, does it have to be an event, or can it just be, dude, I'm not going to answer. I don't have to answer the phone.
I think that's kind of what I've been doing. So I went through some training recently where I've been extremely busy. Mm-hmm. And I kind of was like, I'm not available this month, and kind of let that ease out. But now I'm feeling like, should I tell her why I'm not going to answer her phone calls? I mean, if she is the toxic
person, you coming up with the right explanation will not satisfy her.
Right.
That conversation will be theater for you, and it won't. If she chooses to ask you because she cares about you as much as you've cared about her over 30 years, she'll ask you, hey, seriously, you never answer the phone anymore. And then you could say, dude, I can't do the toxic boy thing anymore. I just can't. Like, you make your choices, you do your thing. I've been ride or die for so long. Like, I just don't have the mental capacity for it anymore. That's being 100% honest.
It is. And like 2 months ago when she got out of this relationship, she was crying and I was there for her, and she said, please don't disappear on me. And this is kind of one of the things that opened my eyes. A lot of people have disappeared on her. And I was like, well, maybe you are the common denominator. And it was like light bulb went on for me.
Yeah.
And I told her I wouldn't disappear, but now I'm like, well, maybe I do want to disappear.
But there's a difference between you disappearing and her pushing you away.
Right.
You bailing on her is one thing, and you committed to not do that. Her constantly calling you and barraging you with tons of text, or I need you to do this, or I can borrow some money, or oh my gosh, can you? I don't want to be a part of that.
Right.
And I'll also say this: sometimes these type of, you only have a few opportunities to have a 30-year friendship. You only have a few opportunities like that. And so here's kind of my thinking on it. I have a few 30-year friendships. I have a few 40-year friendships. I believe those conversations are worth direct, in-line, human-to-human conversation. Like, we've when you cross the, I'm just making this up, but when you cross the quarter century mark, I'm done having to filter myself around you.
Well, that's one thing I'm good at. I don't filter.
Okay.
I'm very direct. She comes to me when she needs the direct, like, what's happening here. And I'll tell her what I feel. I'm not mean about it, but I don't sugarcoat it.
Okay, so some of the greatest moments of my life, especially when I was a young guy trying to figure out how to be a young adult, was when friends would tell me, dude, you are the worst. And those men are still my friends to this day.
Right. And we've weathered a few of those where I did something to help her and she blew up on me and stopped talking to me and then came back later and said, yeah, that was the right thing to do.
Cool.
And I was like, yeah.
So you have a volatile friend who maybe needs to hear, hey, all these people that quote unquote leave you, you ever thought it might be you? Because here's the deal. You're looking at not having the friendship anyway. You might want to consider not having the friendship, having loved with all you had, which was to tell the truth that nobody else would tell this friend, versus running away.
Right.
Does that make sense?
It does. One thing she comes back at me with is, well, it's my life and I can do what I want. But you can't
listen,
control me.
But you don't honor that. You don't honor yourself the way she honors herself. Because your response should be, I know, but this is my life and I get to do what I want to do. And I am 40 now. I don't want to do dating drama anymore.
Right.
I want to have different conversations.
And that's another thing. I'm a mom. I'm married.
Yeah.
She's single. She's divorced.
That's right.
And I feel like she lives her life like she's in her 20s and she's almost 40.
She does.
And I'm like, I'm in a different place and she doesn't ever support me in the things that I need.
Okay, but Amy,
whatever's happening there.
She never has, ever. For 30 years, she hasn't. And I think it's not fair for you to suggest that you haven't got something out of this for 30 years. You've been the hero for 30 years. You've been the wise, steady one. You've been the safety net. And now you need someone who's wise. And it's hard having kids. It's hard being married to the same knucklehead. Like, you need somebody to be wise. You need someone to lean on every once in a while. And you're realizing, I don't have that.
That's exactly it.
So it does no good to spend time meditating on how much you've helped over 30 years. That's a choice to be miserable in your present day.
Right.
The best way to spend energy is to go find people who you can lean on. Right? And that is miserable. There's no roadmap for that. Making friends in your 30s and 40s is the absolute worst. It's the worst. And you don't have any other options because you need oxygen. And that's what friends and community are.
Yeah. So I just don't know how to grieve it. Like,
you don't.
You just carry it with you. That I'm sad that had to end.
Yeah, I think I've talked about it on the show. I have one ride or die friend who was my longest friend, and I got a call several years ago. It was just like, hey, I'm moving on in my life, and I wish you the best. And this is the last time you'll hear from me. And it was somebody that I love deeply. Been through a lot of wild adventures with, and I don't ever talk about them because I want to honor them.
Mm-hmm.
But they had the courage and integrity to reach out, and then I immediately fired an email back, and it bounced back to me. That was it.
Ouch.
Yeah. And God, I wish them well. Hope their life is full and great and grand. And also, I gotta have other men in my life, other women in my life that I trust, I can lean on when things get wild. I've never raised 2 kids before. I need some wisdom. I've never been married to the same person for 20 years after almost blowing it up a few times. I'm over my head, as all of us are, trying to figure out life. And so I need people in my life. So it was sad, broke my heart, and I'm gonna go do the next right thing.
Right.
Because I mean, again, what else am I gonna do?
There's really nothing else I can do for her.
No.
I've done everything I can do. She's drowning me.
That's right. And so you have an obligation to yourself, to your husband, to your kids, to your family, to your friends, to, if somebody doesn't want to swim to shore, I'm not going to voluntarily drown with you. I will pull and fight and scratch and claw with you to get you back to shore. If that is not where you want to go, then I'm not going to be I can't be your person. And by the way, when you're swimming out in the ocean and you're lost and you need help getting back to shore, if they're like, yeah, I don't do that, I don't help, I got a date, I don't, life's too short, man. Life's too short. And a 30-year friendship is not something just to throw away. And I think they're worth fighting. And I realize I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth here. If you think a hard conversation, a direct, loving, confrontational conversation is worth it, have it. Sit down and have it. If, like it sounds like, y'all have taken two paths and you're both trying to keep pumping air into something that has been deflated for a long time, just let it be. Because my guess is you probably were really great friends, really, really great friends for about 10 years, really great friends for maybe 15 years. And then you went to college and she didn't, or y'all both went to college, but you were in this sorority or you had this major, and then you started dating somebody seriously, and then you got married, and then you had kids. And if you look back, you probably have been going your own way for a long, long time. Both of you didn't want to do what it would take to make new friends, so you try to keep propping them up. Remember the old days? Remember that? Oh yeah, it's margarita night, whatever. It's just been maybe you've been living as much fantasy as she has, but my guess is this friendship's been over for a long, long time. And maybe it's time, you don't have to make a big announcement about it, just time to exhale and be really sad. And then I'm going to go do the next right thing. I hate it for you, Amy. I hate it for you. And also, I'm excited to see who you can become and who you can begin to rely on when things get hard without somebody always trying to bring you down.